So hi, Welcome to the Noise Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Gloria.
And we're here with
Jake from band Judiciary.
And we have some questions to say about their upcoming album, Flesh and Blood. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Man, it's been great. We've been sitting on these songs and this album for a long time. So it's nice to finally have it out in the world, and it seems like people like the direction we're going. So that's all you can really ask for. So
yeah, album rocks.
This album was
Thank you.
immaculate. Just hit
Thank
after
you.
hit after hit. It was beautiful.
Didn't slow down.
That's
Right.
awesome. I'm glad you guys dig it.
Of course. So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
So the album title, I think that if you asked any of the five of us, you get five different answers because that's kind of what we intended behind it. So what I will say, and I think some of my band members may disagree with me, but what I would say is it's a mix between introspection. We are flesh, we are blood. There's also some religious themes in there. I know in Judaism and Christianity, there's a lot of references to flesh and blood symbolically and how that relates to the themes of those religions. And then there's also a kind of connotation, blood can symbolize a lot of things in the world we live in today. So I think that's kind of why we chose it. Was it kind of meant something different to each of us. And then the cover art was kind of a product of a world that we were trying to build within that title and the songs and everything like that. And that was part of that world. We wanted it to look like really avant-garde, and we wanted it to look very jarring. I mean, it's a jarring photo, and we wanted it that way. So it worked out that way.
Hell yeah.
So this is a concept record.
In a way, I think that it doesn't follow necessarily like a linear story like a bunch of concept records go. But I think that with the process that we kind of fleshed out, no pun intended, it kind of ended up in a way where everything was very cohesive, which was on purpose. We wanted everything to feel like we left no stone unturned. We didn't want anything to feel like it didn't belong or it was out of place. So it kind of ended up that way.
Oh yeah.
Understood.
So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for this album?
For this album, it was a mess. That was what it was. Just because, so I say that halfway jokingly, but it was a struggle because so in 2019 we toured pretty heavily. And our original plan was we were going to do our last tour in 2019 with Gate Group and Exhumed. That was in December. And then we were like, okay, we're going to do these few shows in the first part of the year. And then we didn't have a tour booked until August or September of that year. And we were like, okay, we're just going to put our heads down. We're going to write this record and it's going to be great. We were planning on, because a bunch of, we're all kind of spread out. I was living in Lubbock at the time, which is where we're originally from, which is about 6 hours north of Austin, where our bassist and our drummer live. And then our other guitarist lives in Lubbock, and then our other guitarist lives in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Jesus.
Wow.
So yeah, so we were like, okay, we're gonna try to figure out when we can bring Jimmy down, all practice in Austin, write this record. We'll try to like come up with stuff on our own, and then once we get in the same room, it'll be cool.
Yeah.
And then the world exploded.
Took a shit.
Yeah.
So basically, we figured out, okay, we can't get into the same room, at least for a while. What do we do? And at the time, the only person that knew how to do, or the only people in our band that knew how to do like programming and stuff like that, were our guitarist Jimmy and our bassist Kyle. And our drummer didn't know how to program drums. Our other guitarist Israel didn't know how to do like any sort of recording software. So essentially, a bunch of that time was teaching them how to do this stuff just so we can like find a way to write these songs. And then the kind of MO of that was like, okay, we're going to do the best we can with this. And then once we get in the same room, because that's kind of where we find a lot of our ideas. We'll come with our individual ideas. And then once we hear it in our practice room, it'll be, okay, that's it, kind of thing. So it took months and months. And then we all had stuff going on in our personal lives, like all of us do. Like I moved to San Antonio in the middle of the pandemic. Our guitarist Israel joined Gatecreeper. So that became his full-time thing. So he, had to kind of put a bunch of eggs in that basket. We also had some personal stuff going on that kind of hindered like our focus on writing the record. So writing took a long time. We wrapped up writing. I mean, we wrapped up writing technically in the studio. So September of 2021 was when we recorded that.
About a year later than you guys said you were going to finish it up.
Oh yeah, and we didn't know it was going to take even longer than that to do the rest of the stuff between like album art, concepts, music videos, packaging, everything like that. It took a long time, but I think that was also in part to us just being so neurotic and wanting it to be the best thing that it could possibly be, that we didn't want to rush anything. So that was kind of a product of that.
Since you guys like have been thinking about this record since like the late part of 2019, do you still kind of resonate with what is kind of talked about on that record since you've been sitting on it for a minute?
Absolutely. I think that a bunch of the lyrics, they evolved over time. I usually like to write the lyrics when the songs are pretty much done. Just so, because you get emotionally tied to your lyrics, especially if you're talking about something that's very, very personal and subjective to you. So I usually don't like to start until the lyrics or the songs are shaped out. I may have like a notes app thing on my phone with like little lines that I can think of, or maybe like some concepts, some like a line from a movie that I heard that really resonated with me, this, that, the other thing. And then I'll kind of build off of that from there. But I think that they still kind of touch me. I talked, obviously a bunch of our songs are just angry songs. So everybody feels anger. So I still feel those. And then I talked about some personal stuff that still kind of, lasts, some self-doubt stuff that we always have. I always have. So yeah, I think they still ring true to me.
That's good.
That's awesome. So what song off this album took longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
So took the longest to write is probably the last song in the record, Escatosa Mera. Just because the riffs in that song we were working on since before we were starting writing. That song felt like it was just present throughout the entire process. And we didn't know what to do with it. There was some stuff that we wanted to try in that song that we had never really tried before. A bunch of parts changed over time. We switched out parts, we scrapped parts. And then like the final version kind of came out in the studio. And that's the product that you hear, was like kind of how this thing that lasted the entire process kind of just settled at the very last day. Like, I think that was the last track I set vocals on too. So, yeah.
Wow. How did you know it was finished? How did you know that you were like, when did you know you were completely happy with the end product?
I think that like musically, we were happy with it when we got to the studio. I think we were confident in what we were going to do there. Obviously Arthur Rizek, who produced the record, like he gave so many good suggestions on like direction of where we could go with it, and parts we should scrap, parts we should shorten, parts we should lengthen, everything like that. Because we demoed it out beforehand, and he kind of sent us his notes. But once you talk to him in person, he's like, okay, this is actually what I'm thinking. And it worked out well. Lyrically and vocally, it was I had the lyrics, I had the general stuff of what I want to do, but he also guided me in some directions. And then there was some stuff I wanted to try that I basically was like, hey, if this sucks, you got to shoot me straight,
Yeah.
and we can scrap it. I don't care. Like I just want it to be good, and it worked out. And yeah, so it was kind of at the buzzer, but it kind of couldn't have been any other way, in my opinion.
Hell
That's
yeah.
awesome. And then your personal favorite off the record.
Hmm. That one's a hard one because I like a bunch of the songs for various different reasons. I think that every song has something super, super strong that it brings to the table.
Hmm.
Um, I go through phases with it too, because for a long time, my favorite was Engulfed, which is the first single that we dropped. I felt like that encapsulated the whole record.
Yeah.
But uh, right now, I think I'm in a knife in the dirt phase, which is
Mm.
track 5
Yep.
on the record. I just think that like it. I wrote some lyrics I'm super proud of. The guitar work on there is insane, and our drummer Austin like really showed up there. I think it. I'm in that phase right now, but I've gone through phases with pretty much every single song on the record that it was my favorite at one time.
Well, I'm glad you
That's
like
good, though.
the songs on your record. That's always a plus.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I've been listening to him for what 3 years at this point. I
God
would hope
damn.
so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how'd the track list for the album come about? Did you guys write the opening of the opener, closer be a closer? Did you shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
So that was also another thing that changed in the studio was the track listing. We thought we wanted it one way. Originally, the first two songs on the record, which are Flesh and Blood,
Mhm.
were supposed to be the last two songs on the record.
Oh.
And that was for the reason of like, okay, this song is a little bit outside of what people know and like us for. So maybe we should put that towards the end. Like that was kind of the mentality that we took with it, which I'm glad we got out of that because like you kind of have to take a little bit of a risk, especially
Yeah.
if you're trying something newer.
Mhm.
And we recorded it in the studio, and I was Kyle, our bassist, which was he was like kind of he had the big creative vision like
Mhm.
thematically for a lot of the stuff that happened on the record. And we were listening to it back in the studio, and he kind of said like, I think maybe those should be the first two. Like he and his reasoning was just this song sounds so huge, the first song Flesh.
Mhm.
It sounds so huge. It sounds like a good intro into this whole world that we're trying to create visually and everything
Yeah.
like that. Like it works. Why not? And then I kind of like was piecing together like lyrically what was happening in those songs in my head, and I was like, I mean, that works like thematically too.
Mhm.
And so we pushed those to the front and then switched a couple around to make it make more sense.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad we did that because I think that pushing those songs to the back of the record would have done them a disservice because a
Mhm.
lot of people don't listen to front to back records anymore. They'll
Yeah.
listen to
Yeah.
like the first three and then pick and choose what they want from there. So
It's ridiculous.
yeah,
Ridiculous.
exactly.
So would you be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you were creating this record?
Uh, it was a lot of, if I'm being candid, it was a lot of like deep breaths and trying to. This is the hardest creative endeavor I've ever explored, honestly.
Yeah.
Between like the timeline and the several roadblocks that
Mhm.
were put in our way to try to like create this.
Mhm.
It was hard. It was hard to keep focused, but I knew that we had something really, really good that we were really proud of.
Yeah.
And the fact that we were all willing to fight for our ideas and try to make sure that this was a record that made all five of us happy.
Mhm.
Like I knew that we had something good, and I knew that we could pull off something that would make us proud. And I think we did that, but at times it got really hard to like keep my head up and keep my head in the game. But I think that the end product like couldn't be happier with it in the end.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. How did you stay motivated since this process was like 2 times longer than what you expected? How did
Yeah.
you stay motivated?
Um, just thinking about the end product. Like you get those little like gold nuggets along the way that you know are eventually you can put them together and make a gold bar. Like
Yeah.
they like you know you would write one part of a song and you're like, oh wow, that's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
Or we would finish one song, it's like, oh my god, that's it. Okay, next song, let's try this, and then we try it. And it's like, okay, that works. So those little gems of like, this, that, the other thing along the
Mhm.
way, as long as like, as well as like validation from
Mhm.
each other. Um, you know, I Israel and Jimmy and Kyle send off riffs. Kyle also plays guitar, so he was sending a bunch of riffs in the chat. It was like, oh wow, that's cool. That's cool. I
Yeah.
think of some sort of design or like lyric line or thing like that. It's, oh, that's cool.
Mhm.
So like kind of unintentionally pushing each other along the way with
Yeah.
that. And then also just feeling like, okay, we're doing something good here that can end up being a good thing. We just got to
Yeah.
see it through, essentially.
Exactly.
And I'm glad that you guys are all kind of there to kind of push each other along. And it doesn't sound, at least from the outside and what you're telling us, that like anybody really lost motivation, like or everyone at the same time at least like lost motivation. It sounded like at least somebody was kind of keeping the process going, you know?
Yep.
That's the thing is like, because like I referred to it earlier, but we had so many like other personal life things going on that like the record had to take a back seat for us sometimes.
Mhm.
But while it took a back seat for maybe like two of us or three of us, the other two or three were like in it and they kept the ball moving, and we can kind of, we can kind of like rest our hat on that and make sure that we can get to the next part of it. So
Absolutely. So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should they do it in the car with friends, in the dark with headphones on? Is it a workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
whatever they feel like it loud as fuck. That's the only way I want you to listen to it.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, however you want to, blast it in your car, blast in your headphones, blow your eardrums out at the gym. I don't care. Just listen to it.
Hell yeah.
Perfect. So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
Damn, you're stumping me.
Yep.
Bad fucking ass. That's the only thing I can think of.
All right.
That's perfect. That is perfect. I love it.
I'll take that one.
Oh yeah. So in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
I think that the album kind of goes like this. So if I could name a few, like I mean I know what I wrote and I know why I wrote the things I did. But like there's some places I want you to feel motivation. And that motivation could be to do like the thing in your life that you want to tackle, because that's what I was feeling at that time. There's also motivation to be fucking angry and just let everything out that you want to let out.
Mhm.
And I think that that's kind of the theme, is just motivation to do whatever you feel like doing at the time. I think that's the feeling I want to evoke.
Oh yeah.
That's the best. So what is your favorite memory that you made while creating this album?
Probably recording it, or everything in and out of the studio. I think that, so this is, we recorded in Philadelphia at the studio that Arthur works at. And we got like an Airbnb. It was walking distance from the studio, and the studio was like in a cool area. So like we could walk to the studio. There was times where it's like, hey, I'm gonna go to the studio later. I'm gonna go grab food here. Um, we're gonna go to this museum. We're gonna go to this. So like we had like a really good time outside of recording. We
Yeah.
kind of made sure that we like didn't just get fully into the recording and drive each other and ourselves crazy. So like there was a lot of like good memories that came out of that, and like those 4 guys are like 4 of my best friends. So like just getting to hang out like all together, for like we recorded it within 2 weeks. It was pretty quick, but like it felt nice just being able to like have time with my guys and like and hang out with my best friends. So I think recording was the best part of it for sure.
It's awesome.
Oh.
Hell yeah. So picture this: you're on tour, you're at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
So it depends on my mood, the time of day, and what the goal at hand is. If I'm driving, and especially if it's a night drive, me and our drummer Austin are sunflower seeds all day.
Hell yeah.
The Texas in us makes us get dill pickle sunflower seeds.
Fuck yeah.
But if I'm just hungry and I need something to satiate me and fill me up, my girlfriend pointed this out to me the other day, but apparently I'm a big lime guy. So if I can find the lime flavored Lay's, those are my chip of choice. And then I'll get it. I'm a sparkling water head. I've been sipping on this
Hell
the entire
yes.
time. But
Yeah.
so if there's Topo Chico at the gas station, that's my first like choice every single time. I will take other ones, but like if it's a aha, I'm good. Like, oh no, I just offended you.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I didn't
no.
expect that. I didn't expect that stray bullet to hit me. I didn't see aha
See,
slander.
aha is fine. I will drink it if it's around. It's not the best one.
The
It's
backpedaling
not
here
near
is
the top.
insane.
Right, it's okay. You can hate aha if you want. I'm not like sponsored by them or anything.
I can hear the hurt in your voice though.
No,
the
that's
thing.
fine.
What? Okay, so what's your last place or like close to last place on
My
sparkling
last
water?
place? It's probably I'm gonna get hate for this. Probably Pellegrino. I don't drink it often because it's just so
That's You have to be in like the right mood for a Pellegrino.
exactly,
That's
and
the
it
thing.
has to be the little bottle too, like the little personal bottle. I'm not gonna drink a whole one. I'm not gonna crack one open and pour some out. Why would you do that?
And their flavors are kind of jarring. I
Mhm.
wanted to. I don't want to. Here's the thing. I hate like the lightly sweetened ones.
Ugh,
Like, have you tried like the liquid death ones?
I haven't tried Liquid Death yet. Everyone around me has, but I'm avoiding it a little bit.
So the regular sparkling is good because it's just sparkling water.
Yeah.
But with their flavored ones, what they do is I think they put not honey, but the other one,
Oh,
some
agave.
agave. Yeah, they put agave in it and then they sweeten it. So they have like a lime one and a berry one. And like I wanted to like it so much, but I just couldn't do it. I needed to feel like they just kind of sprayed like a perfume into the water. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, you kind of want that like little tiny taste of whatever it is. You don't
Yeah,
actually drink a bottle of it.
I just need a taste.
Exactly.
I don't need all that juice in there. Unless it's topo though. Because squeezing some lime into a topo, that's like ooh.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
But
This was great.
I hope that answered the gas station question.
That did.
It did perfectly.
Good.
So on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
So if I'm going like a full dish, I'm gonna say an entree and like a side.
Okay.
We're from Texas. The first thing that's coming to my mind is like meatloaf and mashed potatoes.
Oof. Yeah.
It's a classic Southern meal.
Mhm.
It's heavy, but you get hints of like some good notes. Kind of underrated too. People kind of think of meatloaf as like oh, my grandma makes it sometimes, it's fine.
Yeah.
But like you get like a good onion in there or
Mhm.
like the good like crust on the outside.
Oh yes.
It's good. And then you get some like garlic mashed potatoes in there. Yeah.
Nice.
That's Judiciary. We're meat and potatoes, but in a fancy way.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a strange question, but do you put ketchup in your meatloaf?
If it's there, I'll take it.
If it's there, you'll take it. Damn. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not a ketchup person. Like, because I know some people like I will have ketchup with like fries and stuff like that, but I know some people will like die for it on everything. Not one of those people. But like meatloaf kind of calls for it, and I know that like the way at least like I know some people make meatloaf. It's like a mixture of like ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, and like some other stuff in the sauce that comes around it.
Yeah.
So that counts, but I'm not putting extra ketchup on a meatloaf.
Oh,
You know
no,
what
no,
I mean?
not on it. I'm talking about like I layer it, so I kind of have like meat and then ketchup and then meat and then you bake it. Oh, and sometimes you put a little ketchup on top and then you bake it, so then it caramelizes and it gets like super sweet. That's
I'll
just
take
how.
that.
Yeah,
I'm with that. It's like a
yeah,
meatloaf
you gotta try
lasagna.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of. It's delicious. It's delicious.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
So for the last couple questions, we're going to shift away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with drink?
So when we say meal, because I got to define the rules in which we're working with here.
Okay.
Do I get to do like a spread, or is it like what I just said, like one entree, two sides, and a drink?
You can do a whole spread. It's your last day on Earth, man.
Okay, I'm gonna shoot from the hip right now.
All right.
So there's a fast food place in West Texas. It's called Taco Villa,
Mhm.
and it's one of my favorite places on earth. It's kind of like Del Taco. I don't know if you guys have had Del Taco,
Yeah.
but I would get a chicken combination burrito and curly fries from there. Set that to the side. I would get a green chili double, add mustard and bacon from Whataburger
Ooh.
with this fries and spicy ketchup.
Mhm.
Put that here.
That's good.
And then I would get just a simple like Texas ribeye, just salt, pepper, medium rare, slap that down. And then my drink. See, this is hard. I want to say Topo Chico, but the reason I started drinking Topo Chico was because I was trying to cut my Dr. Pepper consumption down.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go Dr. Pepper
Hell yeah.
as my drink on the side, and that's my last meal.
All
That's
right.
it. That's solid. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
Man, like, so if we're talking like from like movies and stuff, it's kind of hard to pick a fictional world because a bunch of them have a lot of bad shit going on in them.
Yes.
You know what? I'm gonna go like in the cartoon world.
Yeah.
I'm living in like the girl from Inside Out's head. I'm hanging out with all the emotions,
Okay.
and I'm just a fly on the wall watching them interact. I'm hanging out with Bing Bong
Yeah.
the whole
hell
time.
yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's the first thing that came to my mind. So that world right there.
Sounds
That's
good.
chill. I like that.
Yeah.
So I have no one of asking the last question, and every single person that we've spoken to have said that is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
Is it cliche to say black? That's like all I wear.
You could say it.
I'll say it. I'd say the actual color answer.
Mhm.
I'll say like a good green, like a olive green.
Ooh.
It's a solid color. Goes with a lot of things. A lot of foods that have that color are tasty.
Mhm.
I'll take that.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Yeah, our new record, Flesh and Blood, is out March 10th. Go to pre-order it, judiciarytx.com, and be on the lookout. We'll be up and around this year, so hopefully you guys can come see us at a show or something.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, thank you for stopping. This has been Jake from Judiciary, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.